If it isn't clear from this past week, the Cincinnati Reds lineup, it needs some shuffling, and we've got exactly the solution for Terry Francona.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Reds podcast. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. My name's Stephen Offenbaker. His name's Jeff Carr. We are lifelong Cincinnati Reds fans. We're lifelong baseball fans. We've been podcasting about these Cincinnati Reds for a combined 14 seasons. We love talking baseball. We love talking about the Reds, and we love talking about those things with you. On today's show, the Reds and the Dodgers find themselves really strangely in the same spot this season. We'll tell you why and what we mean a little bit later on in the show. In a few minutes, we're going to discuss the recent success of Brady Singer and ask if the Reds need to commit to him long-term. But where we'll begin today's show is with a question that seems obvious. Is this lineup correct? Is it the best version that the Reds can put out there? We've got all of that coming up on today's episode that is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the USA. Visit the number 5 HEWin.com for all of the rules and how to enter. No purchase necessary, excludes the Masters tournament, and we're not getting there by our play either. The contest ends October 31st, 2025. All right, Jeff, a lot to get to today, and where I want to begin today's show is just simply by saying that the University of Hawaii kicked Stanford's butt on Saturday, winning by a field goal as time expired.
What are we talking about?
I don't care. UH baby, go Warriors, go Bows. All right, back to our regularly scheduled program. Where I want to begin today is with this lineup, Jeff, because you look at this Reds team and you look at the lineup and how it produces. There are times they score runs in bunches, but you can kind of look at it and see an almost natural reordering at this point to take a little bit better advantage of the guys that are clearly hot right now and minimize the guys that are not hot, but that you got to keep in the lineup. So I think that there are some tweaks that Tito can make to help this offense produce better.
Yeah, and I think that it starts with putting Noelvi Marte right behind Elly de la Cruz. And I don't necessarily know if that's 1-2, if that's 2-3, if that's 3-4, whatever it is. It's Elly and it's Noelvi. Those are the best two bats in this lineup, and it's not even close. And there is some argument, at least in the very, very current iteration of the Reds lineup, that Noelvi Marte is the best hitter on this ball club. Now, I think that's a little bit, prisoner of the moment, but let's get back to the idea of Elly, Marte, 1-2. Whatever that 1-2 punch is, wherever it is in the lineup, I think that is how you protect Elly de la Cruz right now, because Noelvi Marte is doing all of the things. Whether it's the power, whether it's just the really good contact, whether it's the really long disciplined plate appearances that he has. I mean, the most important thing, and I continue to say this, Noelvi Marte, Steve, struck out almost 31% of the time in 2024. He is striking out 19% of the time in 2025. That is an insane jump. And I know that there were so many people that were trying to put this, that, and the other, obviously the steroid suspension that he went through last year, they were trying to put all of this on his shoulders and say, look at this, he's not a major league ball player. It is clear the naysayers were wrong.
There's a lot to unpack there. First of all, I was one of the people that jumped on him, and he took some heat, he took some criticism, and he deserved every bit of it. What he didn't deserve,
what he did put some heat.
What I did, and he deserved it. But what he didn't deserve was the mishandling of his return by the Reds. They rushed him far too fast back to the major leagues and put him in the worst position possible to try and come back and redeem himself, to try and come back and earn back the respect of the fans and the people that he plays with. I love to see that he's turned it around. He is playing really, really well. You say best hitter, he's definitely the hottest hitter right now. He is the hottest of the hot. Question. He's bringing the heat. I want to say something that's a little steamy, a little sexy even. Are you ready for this? 397, 417. Buckle up. Here it comes. 690, Jeff. 690. Noelvi Marte's slash line for the last 2 weeks, sir. And that includes 3 home runs, 12 RBIs. He is just getting it done. Multiple hit game after multiple hit game. You're absolutely right. He needs to be part of a 1-2 punch. Here's how I want to do it. This is what I want to see, Jeff, because it would be very easy to say, let's get TJ Friedl out of the leadoff spot. But I don't think that that's the answer. I think that TJ will bounce back. He's been bad. We looked it up before we recorded. He's been bad over the last month or so. I think he bounces back up. He stays in the leadoff spot. Here's where it gets a little interesting. We need a number 2 hitter. I'm not using Noelvi. I'm not using Elly De La Cruz. I'm going to bring somebody else up to the number 2 spot. I think the answer here is either Austin Hayes or Spencer Steer. Now, everybody settle down. Hang on. Austin Hayes has started to hit the ball really well. He's making good contact. He's not hitting for power. Put him in the 2 hole, let him get on base, and now you give Elly De La Cruz an RBI opportunity in the 3 spot, and Noelvi Marte is your new number 4 guy hitting behind Elly. That's my 1 through 4 against left-handed pitching. Now, against right-handed pitching, I substitute that number 2 spot. I use Gavin Lux there every time there's a right-handed pitcher on the mound. That's my 1 through 4. That's what I think the best opportunity for the Reds to get on base and drive in some runs early in a game is to use that first 4.
I like that. I kind of err on the side of I would like to see more at bats from Elly and Noelvi Marte, and that's where I come in with, and I know you kind of preempted me on this, but that's where I come in with Elly De La Cruz leads off, Noelvi Marte bats second, and then whoever's hot just fills in behind him, whatever that is, because those are the 2 best hitters in the lineup right now. And I feel like there are other teams that do this. I mean, for a long period of time over the last couple of years in Philadelphia, do you know who has led off for the Phillies? Kyle Schwarber. Kyle Schwarber is far from your typical leadoff guy, but he got on base and he hit for power and he's a really good hitter. And I think that when it comes to what we have seen from Elly De La Cruz so far this year, he has really fixed the whole strikeout issue. It's not like to the point of Noelvi Marte and jumping down from 31% to 19% and all that other stuff, but he's laying off of those breaking balls that dip below the zone and he can't hit anyway. He is laying off of some really bad pitches and he's got a decent on-base percentage, and he's done really well at lacing singles into the gap and hitting them where they aren't. So get him on base. Noelvi Marte can bring him in.
Let me ask you this. Does the fact that his power has, it hasn't dried up. He's got, I don't have it in front of me, but he's got nearly 20 home runs, right? Mm-hmm. His power, though, is not what we thought it was going to be this year. His power numbers aren't quite what we expected. Does that make it easier for you? Or is that one of the reasons why you're talking about batting him leadoff versus lower in the lineup?
It has nothing to do with that because Kyle Schwarber is a home run guy, and the Phillies have led off Kyle Schwarber for a couple of years. I think they've changed that up here recently, but I say that with Elly De La Cruz in mind. Like, if the power comes back, fine, keep him in the number 1 spot, because I think that there is an element of you cannot pitch around him if he is the leadoff hitter. If he's the first guy that you see at the beginning of the ballgame, you're not going to pitch around the first guy that you see, and you're certainly not going to pitch around him to get to Noelvi Marte right now.
All right, that's fair. I still think I would like to create a more of an RBI situation for Noelvi Marte. And by going 1-2 like that, you limit his RBI opportunities. He's been hot. He's been delivering the hits. Let's at least try to get a couple more runners on base for him, which is why I like him in the 4 spot. Because if you can get a couple of those guys on, you have a real opportunity to do damage early. You have a real opportunity to get into the bullpens sooner. So I mean, I get what you're throwing down with batting them 1-2, and you're not wrong. That it would be really hard for a major league starting pitcher to not try and go challenge those guys, because it's the start of the game and here they are and let's go. But I as tempting as that is, I think I much prefer the opportunity to try and get a couple more guys on base and let Noelvi do some true damage.
I tell you this too, and I don't necessarily know that it warrants him moving up in the lineup, but somebody else who's killed it as a Red, Ke'Bryan Hayes. Ever since coming over from the Pittsburgh Pirates at the plate, Steve, because we talked a lot about his glove. We said, Gold Glove, Ke'Bryan Hayes. Absolutely fantastic. Cincinnati Shirts made this awesome t-shirt. Great t-shirt. You got to go check it out. But ever since joining the Reds, Steve, 123. 23% better than league average hitter. Like, absolutely fantastic to see how he's hitting right now. maybe you don't mess with it and you put him in the top of the order. But I've been really happy to see what Ke'Bryan Hayes has done at the plate.
So I know we're running out of time, but let me get you with this. Rather than move him up, what if we moved him down? What if we leaned into the best number 9 hitter in baseball again? What if we put him at the bottom of the lineup?
I missed
what
that.
if we put him at the bottom of the lineup to set things up for Friedel and whoever we go at number 2 and Elly?
I don't hate that. I mean, the bottom of the lineup at the end of that Diamondback series was awful between McLean and Banfield. That 8-9 was tough, but yeah, that'd be a good one. He's only striking out 11% of the time right now. Is Ke'Bryan Hayes. He's something about the Reds' philosophy with hitting just jives with him. But it's clear that however Tito looks at this lineup, he's got to go Elly, Noelvi, and however else the lineup coalesces around them. That's how they need to go, is Elly, Noelvi. But I know this, Steve. On Sunday, as much as Noelvi Marte was a big reason why the Reds salvaged that win, Brady Singer probably deserved even more credit. And he's been on a heater here recently that makes me wonder how long he needs to be staying in Cincinnati. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. This great ginger lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost. Perfect for sinking birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you're out on the course or you just need a little extra push to power through your day, like when the Reds are on the West Coast and playing some late-night baseball, 5-Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. The grape ginger lime flavor of 5-Hour Energy Transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without leaving the course or chasing down that bevy cart. Now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament in the USA. Tee up that trip at the number 5 HEWin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters Tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. We have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes here today. Thank you for helping us out. Also got a nice QR code for you here as well. It's always great to hear from you guys, what you like, what you don't like. We love to tailor things to you because we're talking about the Reds. We love talking about the Reds every single day. So also make sure you hit that subscribe button here on YouTube and on your favorite audio platform, because we're going to be with you all throughout. I mean, the rest of the season, hopefully the postseason, the off season, and beyond. All right, Steve, a great start from Brady Singer. 6 innings, 1 run, 9 strikeouts. He looked phenomenal. And quite frankly, there were some points where his fielding did him no favors. His lineup was doing him no favors while he was in the ballgame, evidenced by the fact he got the no decision. So the fact that he pitched as well as he did was amazing. But I take that even further to look at the fact that he has had a stretch of games now for like 10 starts. Do we need to be signing Brady Singer long-term? Because he's got one more year of team control for the Cincinnati Reds, and then he becomes a free agent. Like, does this dude need to be here in perpetuity?
It's an interesting question, because the real wild card in all that is there's so many unanswered questions with Brandon Williamson, with Rhett Lowder, with these guys that are coming back from significant losses of time. You don't know what's going to happen. I think because the Reds have another year of team control of Brady Singer, I think we won't hear any extension talks. I think they'll see what they've got for next season and then make an evaluation of who's real, who's not, and who do we need to keep around. But you're right. I didn't do it out for 10 games, but I can tell you about his last 7, Jeff. In his last 7, he's 4-2 with a 3.38 ERA. He's pitched 37 1/3 innings. He struck out 40. in that time. He's doing some things. And then who had Brady Singer down as the power strikeout pitcher pitching as the third spot in the rotation? I didn't. I thought he'd be an adequate number 3 guy, but really, I mean, he's had some blow ups. When he blows up, but his starts have been really good. And I feel comfortable when he's on the mound. When he's listed in the day lineup, I'm like, okay, the Reds can win this game. And I think that's all you can ask for from your number 3 guy.
I mean, it's so crazy because when you power rank this starting rotation that has been fantastic all throughout the year, I know that we saw Andrew Abbott's worst start of his career on Saturday, and quite frankly, he was due for that. That was going to happen to him at some point. Baseball does not let you stay good. You don't get good, stay good, and never be bad in the game of baseball. And Andrew Abbott had one of those days. And then Friday, Nick Martinez didn't quite go very long into his start. That was kind of interesting to me a little bit. We'll monitor that for his next start against the Dodgers. But Brady Singer is not a guy that you would put in the top 3. You could argue between him and Nick Martinez. You could even maybe argue between him and Chase Burns and a healthy Rhett Lowder. Like, there's so many different people that you could really start to have interesting discussions about. But his last 10 starts, because I mentioned this, his last 10 starts, he has an ERA of 3.65, and his FIP, his fielding independent pitching. We talk about this stat a lot, where it's the statistics that pitchers can control, and it kind of shows whether they're getting lucky or unlucky. It actually shows that the 3.65 is unlucky. It should be lower because he's striking out more, he's walking less, he's giving up less homers. He has pitched so well, and I don't think people understand how much a benefit this trade has been to 2025 of Jonathan India for Brady Singer with the Kansas City Royals. Like, I'm looking at Brady Singer, and this was the kind of deal that people are not giving Nick Krall credit enough for. Like, I love what Brady Singer's brought to the table, but you're right. You bring in this argument of the perceived depth that the Reds have in the pitching staff. We've said this before, like, coming into the offseason, the Reds really don't have to worry too much about their starting pitching. Knock on all of the wood, cross all your fingers, all that other stuff when it comes to, superstition and all that. But like, if you really want to have conversations about who Rhett Lowder is, who Brandon Williamson is, who Julian Aguiar is, who Chase Burns is, who Chase Petty is, and how does Brady Singer fit in with all of those guys, it seems like he's a mentor to all those guys.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, he's one of the veteran arms, right? In the absence of guys like Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo, who are cycling in and out of the injured list and the recovery room, he's been around and he's been consistently around. And so when it's kind of what we hope to get out of Wade Miley, thinking he would provide that when he came up, and don't get me wrong, he is doing that. We've seen shots of him in the dugout. He's out on a rehab assignment, trying to maybe get himself available for some bullpen work in the postseason or whatnot. But when he was in Cincinnati working on getting better, he was still in the dugout. He was being that mentor. But the times he's not been around, you look, and Brady Singer really is the natural kind of next veteran up to provide the insight and the leadership that that room needs.
This year, his 6th year in the league. He's already, he's going to be over 2 wins above replacement after this start here on Sunday. He's tracking to be close to what he was for the Royals in 2024. Don't necessarily know that he's going to touch the year that he had back in 2022. So he's not going to be setting a career high when it comes to wins above replacement, but the value that he provides to this team is so intriguing. But I think that it's just because of that perceived value and the extra year of team control that the Reds have. The Reds love a current contract, and I don't necessarily know that they prescribe to the idea of approaching a guy before that contract is close to ending on extending him. So I don't think that we see that. I'm with you. I don't think that Brady Singer gets that offer this offseason. But I think, for my money, like, if everything were considered equal right now, he would deserve that. And I think that the way that he has pitched this year for the Reds has been well enough that you could pencil him into the rotation for the next couple of years and feel really good about the fact that he's going to be the number 4 or 5 guy.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's a right answer to this right now, Jeff,
Yeah.
because there's so many other unanswered questions. Will we be kicking things? Will we be upset with Nick Craw if another year goes by, they don't extend him, he has another great year and he gets away? Well, I don't know. It depends on what they do with the money instead. $21 million of Nick Martinez comes off the books this offseason. And if they spend that on right-handed power hitting outfielder instead of another pitcher, I would be okay with that, given the depth in this organization of other available arms. So I don't think there's a right answer. I'm okay if they were to try to extend him, and I'm okay if they don't.
I agree with that. And I think it's interesting because we've seen some good injury updates about Rhett Lowder here recently. He's going to throw another bullpen session coming up here soon. They're going to decide if he pitches to live hitters for the rest of the AAA season, and then maybe he gets into the Arizona Fall League. That'll be something that we discuss as that nears and things like that. And you talk about Julian Aguiar and Brandon Williamson. We're going to see those guys back in the rotation mix next year. Chase Petty's going to be there for sure. I know that people think that just because of a couple of starts that he made this year and didn't look all that great, they think they know who he is. They don't. He's still super young, and he's still super talented and has a ton of potential. And so how does he factor into all of this is going to be very interesting, because there's a world where it makes sense to trade him. And there's a world where it makes sense to keep him and lock him up long term, because he's going to be 29 next year, and you can lock him up for 3 or 4 years.
It's great conversation for people that talk for a living. So
you bet we're going to do that. Yeah,
we're going to do a lot more of that. But listen, Jeff, the Reds are heading into a pivotal series out in Los Angeles against the mighty deferrals of the Dodgers. So we're going to get into that in just a minute, talking about how these two teams are strangely at the same point and what the Reds need to do to win this 3-game series. We're talking about that coming up next. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your shot for MVP or eyeing that long shot division winner, or you're just ready to crown the Super Bowl champion before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. So if you're in Cincinnati, if you're listening to Locked On Reds, odds are you know that guy down the way in the Dora, Joe Burrow, the quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals. He's going to be an MVP. I believe it. You believe it. The league knows they robbed him of it last year. Take a flyer on him right now. Get in on the action. Visit FanDuel right now. Head over to the app. The FanDuel app is where you need to be, and get started planning your futures bets right now, because Futures Day is just one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. If you can't watch us here on YouTube, you can listen to us on your favorite podcasting app. We are seriously on pretty much all of them. If you find one we're not on and you need us there, message Jeff. He can make it happen. Also, make sure you go check out the Locked On MLB Game Night show. They watch every game every night with the experts of the Locked On Podcast Network, so that you don't have to. All right, Jeff. Reds deferral. Dodgers. Reds, Dodgers. Going to be a big series. It's strangely, these two teams, while maybe not record-wise, but on the field, situation-wise, the Reds and the Dodgers have a lot of similarities right now. They both come into this series really having not played their best baseball of late, really needing to play their best baseball right now, because in the Red side of things, they're trying to keep pace with the New York Mets, another big market, Goliath. And in the Dodgers side of things, they're the big market Goliath, trying not to get passed by those pesky Padres. And so these games are really important to both teams right now.
Yeah, because, the Dodgers are trying to play catch-up to the Padres and trying to get past them in the division. And they've had a really lackluster August. And by lackluster, I mean they've played 500 baseball. They're 11-11 in these 22 games so far in the month of August. And I think it's interesting, Steve, because it's easy to line these two teams up and see all of the massive differences, the payrolls, the future Hall of Famers, and all this other stuff. Like, there's so many differences in the big picture. But currently, where they are right now, just how these two teams have played is very similar. The fact that the Dodgers are neither gaining ground nor losing ground. They're a playoff team no matter how you look at it. I don't think they fall out of the wild card race as it is. I think there's a chance that, do the Reds go crazy in this series and then the Reds are really close to them as not just being the last wild card team, but could they push them to be the second wild card team? But then how do the Padres factor into this? Do the Dodgers catch up to them? How does the division work out in the NL West? Their division's not as good as the NL Central. I know, that's crazy. I can't believe I just said that, but the empirical evidence is undeniable right now because the Brewers are the best team in baseball and the Cubs are the best wild card team in the National League. So when you look at all of that and you see where the Dodgers are and what they're looking for and what they need, the Dodgers and the Reds are like in the same spot.
You know what's funny? I remember back on some squad shows and some preseason shows, and not just us, not just the Locked On Network, but ESPN, MLB Network, everybody unanimously was saying there's absolutely no way two wild card teams can come from the National League Central. And that might be exactly what happens. And I love it. I am here for it. Y'all take your $1 billion payrolls and get out of here. We're going to win them all.
Crazy.
But look, here's what I know. The Reds don't have as much room for error as the Dodgers do in this series. Right. The Reds are going to have to come in and play really, really good ball. Now, I like a couple things that are happening in this series. The first thing that I like is that you get Hunter Green on game 1 of it, and you get Nick Lodolo coming off the injured list in game 3. I like those bookends. Now, Nick Martinez is scheduled to go in the middle, and depending on which Nick Martinez that is, he could keep those Dodgers hitters off balance and keep the Reds in games. Then you look at the matchup that the Dodgers are throwing back at the Reds. Now, in the first game, it's Emmett. I lost the name.
Emmett Sheehan.
Thank you. Emmett Sheehan's going in the first game. Now, his numbers suggest that he's got a 4+ ERA, but his numbers suggest he's been getting unlucky. His FIP is lower than his ERA. So even with that Dodgers lineup, he has had a little bit of unlucky starts. But then you get to the next two, right? You get Clayton Kershaw in game 2 going against Nick Martinez. Now, which Clayton Kershaw shows up? Clayton Kershaw, or the tired guy in August whose career is about to come to an end and has shown some signs of wear over the last month or so? I hope it's that guy because I like the Reds in that game. And then you get to game 3 and, well, here we go. Shohei Ohtani on the mound for the Dodgers. That didn't go so well the last time that Shohei faced the Reds. In fact, the Reds torched him a little bit, and he hasn't pitched quite right since. Now, I know there was a little injury involvement there, but he hasn't been the shutdown guy that everybody thinks of when you say the word Shohei Ohtani. With Nick Lodolo coming back and a non-blistered finger at play, I kind of like the Reds in that game. So this series is not as out of reach as you would believe it to be if you just lined up the stats in front of you on paper. I think the Reds have a shot to take 2 of 3 out in Los Angeles. And I know that's crazy talk for people that are probably in Los Angeles, but for the rest of you, it's very reasonable to think the Reds could win 2 of these games.
And for them to do that, they are going to have to pitch. I mean, they did not pitch very well in the first 2 games of the series against the Diamondbacks, and that's a huge reason why they lost. I mean, when you give up 16 runs in 2 games, you're going to lose. Probably both those games, definitely one of them. So when you go up against this Dodgers lineup has had a bit of a down month, but by a bit of a down month, they still have a team OPS of 752. They still have a team slugging.
Is that all? That's all they've got?
Like, you're still talking about some good stuff from Shohei. Shohei Ohtani's hitting 342 in the month of August right now. Like, I mean, you still got some crazy numbers. Freddie Freeman is hitting the ball all over the place. Both he and Shohei Ohtani have 7 home runs apiece. I'm pretty sure the team for the Cincinnati Reds don't have 7 home runs amongst them. So that's the whole thing when it comes to the Dodgers, is that a down Dodgers is still not as bad as a down Reds lineup. But this Reds pitching staff that, as we said, we're throwing a couple of good dudes in this series for the Reds. If they go like they should, this could be a really fun series because we saw how bad the bullpen was taxed in Arizona. And if we get some long starts by Hunter Green and we get a long start by Nick Martinez and we get a long start, like 6 innings from all 3 guys, we saw what happened in LA. That's what happened in LA against the Angels. Okay, Anaheim, I know there's probably some Dodgers fans that are like, Angels aren't in LA. I get it. I understand. But 6 innings per start. I'm feeling good about this series, Steve.
All right, let me ask you this. Let's play a little realism here. Let's be real. What is a reasonable expectation in this series what is overachieving and what's an impossible ask. So for me, the reasonable expectation is don't get swept. That's the reasonable expectation. Win one of these. Overachieving in a 3-game set out in Los Angeles at the end of this road trip, I think, is winning 2 of 3. And I think a sweep is not, it's too far out of the realm of possibility to be considered realistic.
If they do that, the vibes are higher than when the Reds beat the Phillies. So I don't think that happens. But you said the key thing there at the end of this road trip. It's the end of a long West Coast road trip, 9 games. What's that, 11 days? Counting off days, whatever it is, 10 days, whatever. A long time on the road for these Redlegs out on the West Coast. We know what happens on West Coast road trips in the history of the Reds. You go back to the Big Red Machine. The Big Red Machine had tough times on the West Coast. We all know this. So just don't get swept. That's the expectation right here. I think that there's a chance they win the 2 out of 3, and I'm with you. I think it's impossible to get that sweep. If they come out of there 3-0, I don't know, man. There's going to be something fun that we do to celebrate that, because that sounds like a pipe dream. Because this next week, I think the expectation's got to be 3-3, which is annoying because that's what they just did. And it's what it feels like the Reds have been doing all month of August, is just staying at 500, and they need to go on a run. But I don't think you can expect the run to begin at Chavez Ravine. I think the run begins when they return home to face the Cardinals next weekend. And that's when you expect the run to start. Just continue to stay afloat for right now.
And that is probably a great spot to go ahead and wrap it up for today. That's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Reds. Thanks, as always, for making us your first listen each and every day. Now make sure you check out Tim Daniel after each and every Reds game. He's coming at you live with a postcast all year long. Also, make sure you check out that Locked On MLB feed. Not only are you going to get Sully with the national perspective on the Locked On MLB show, but you're going to get Locked On MLB Game Night every day. They watch every single game so that you don't have to. Until we're back in your feeds again tomorrow, we're going to keep gathering up the news, the reports, the rumors, and the information to keep you locked on Reds every single day. Jeff, you've got to come to UH and watch a game with me in Manoa. You got to do it.
It sounds fun. Is that by the beach?
It can be as close to the beach as you want it to be.
I like it.